What's the most messed up thing you overheard in a conversation? My daughter was talking to a kid at the playground. She was showing him a scar she had on her leg from a bike wreck. So he showed her a scar on his arm and said, "I got cut with a knife and had to get stitches. It's why I can't see my mom anymore." He was maybe 5 years old. Walking through a mall while in high school, a woman was talking with her husband. I assumed anyways. She told him, "What you've done is worse than mass murder." I've thought about this for a long time. I was a manager at a resort in the mountains. It was the late 90s and we did not have telephones in the rooms. And this was before everyone had cell phones. A young woman asked to use our office phone after hours. I listened to this poor woman tell her mother that her boyfriend just admitted to cheating on her, and that he tested positive for AIDS. I felt so sorry for her. Stood behind a couple arguing loud. The man screams, "What the F were you thinking? I thought you were in danger, I almost called 911. To which she screamed, "I'm so freaking sorry for wanting to send you something sexy. That won't happen again." Me and my friend had to contain our laughter. Went to a wedding which my roommate's girlfriend also attended without my roommate. She introduced her fiance, which was a different man than my roommate, to a group of people without realizing I was nearby. I contemplated it for a while because he wasn't the best roommate. But then I decided to call him and tell him from the airport before I flew home because I hate cheaters with a passion. People behind us at a dinner were clearly an emotive former exotic dancer with a complicated past apologizing to her date, who left the priesthood for her, that she was still in love with her abusive ex-boyfriend. She was very wound up and trauma dumping for an hour with him saying almost nothing. At one point she said, "You must hate me so much." He calmly replied with a little bit of a southern accent, "Darlin', I'm about 10 minutes past hating you." A lady thought she was an experiment created in the Mayo Clinic lab. She said she had no parents and was the first of her kind. The entire conversation was completely bizarre. She absolutely needed some mental help. Overheard with no context at the bar. The snake blood was okay, it just tasted like human blood. I genuinely think I overheard vampires not going to lie. In a restaurant, sitting behind me were 3 men who obviously worked together, talking to what I gathered a new employee about wife swapping, and the new guy wasn't having it. Me and my friend were just using an elevator when one of my neighbors, an elderly woman, joined us. We tried having some small talk with her until she dumped the info that despite doing everything in the house, no one wanted her and her daughter was looking into some asylums to throw her in. Cue to awkward silence. And no, she stayed with the daughter till the end of her life despite all of that. I was standing in line behind a couple at a restaurant waiting to be seated. Guy: "Oh, so you'll never believe who I got an email from." Girl: "Oh yeah? Who?" Guy, smirking happy: "From the old place. It was about the compost and..." Girl: "Look, I just can't, okay? I can't get into that again, not again. I want to know what happened with the compost at their old place so badly now." I drove for Uber, 2 lawyers talking about how corrupt our judicial system is. In college at a dorm, I was playing pool with my roommate. We were in the main lobby and later another guy from another floor came down with a buddy. And they sat down to watch us play and reserved the table so they could play the next game. The guy was talking to his buddy about how the cops interviewed him because he had sex with a passed out drunk girl in her dorm room. She woke up in the middle of it and started freaking out. My roommate and I acted like we couldn't hear him, but we kept exchanging glances when he kept talking and talking about how he RP'd a girl. The guy was acting like it wasn't a big deal and she was blowing it out of proportion and he was the true victim. The guy then starts to buddy up to us, so we kind of coldly blew him off, finished our game, and got the freak out as soon as possible. About 1 week later, I opened the newspaper and sure enough, he'd been charged for rape. This was 25 years ago now, and it's still kind of chilling. Never found out if he was found guilty or not, but the dude legitimately did not think he did anything wrong. I was once on a train from Birmingham to my hometown, a journey of about 45 minutes total. And for the first 10 minutes, there's this guy at the back of the carriage having a really loud phone conversation with his lawyer about an upcoming case where it was clear that he was being told the evidence against him was certain to see him sent down and he was having none of it, just aggressively telling them that they'd best keep him out of prison and not listening to a word they said, clearly and getting more agitated. As soon as this call ended, he began a series of calls where he screamed at people to find this guy. By the time the train reached its destination, after which he's going to stab him in the freaking neck. Calls were made to the intended target where he screamed the same, to what sounded like the target's girlfriend and family members, to people he thought could locate him. It was basically half an hour of this crazed psycho yelling into a phone about the impending violence that he was bringing. Just call after call of it, at full volume in a train with perhaps a dozen or so other people. It was like an overly long and extremely uncomfortable scene from a movie. I overlooked someone breaking up their marriage of 15 years over WhatsApp. It was surreal to me. I could see the guy's messages coming in and he was going absolutely crazy. I guess it was when I was young, maybe 8 or 9 years old. My mom and dad were fighting. I heard my mom yell, "You don't even care about them. I'll take them and you'll never see us again." Then my dad yelled back, "Why don't I just kill you and then kill them right now?" Glass then shattered. I ran and grabbed my baseball bat thinking I'd have to kill my dad to save my mom, but he just ran out of the house instead. Turns out the glass shattering was something my mom threw at him after he said he'd kill her and my 2 siblings and I. She's a fierce woman. I love my mom so much. So I worked roadside assistance. I was changing a group of guys' tire in an apartment complex parking lot. It was not a good area. They were all standing around me, extremely agitated and hyping up about immediately going to shoot someone, and or drive by as retaliation for the shots taken at them. I was wondering if I could make it to my truck in time to get my pistol if I had to at that point. They nearly ran over me leaving. Moment car dropped on the new tire, they turned it on and floored it, blacklisted the entire zone and called the cops after I left. They didn't seem to give a crap, to be honest. I live in Texas if you are curious, and it was maybe 14 years ago now. I once was forced to take a 6-hour car ride with my mother, aunt, and grandmother. They discussed their sex lives the entire time. I was 12 at the time. I worked as a mover for a long time, and one day 2 of my coworkers were talking about dog fighting, and how excited they were to see their new dog in action. I've never felt so much disgust for human beings that are actually in front of me. My dad brought me over to his friend's house years ago. He started talking about a story how he sold a guy a van with no brakes because they wouldn't have bought it and he needed the cash. After the guy bought the van and left, he couldn't stop and died in killing a family of 3. He said it so plainly that it was a normal thing. Just wanted to put food on the table. That's a sneak peek of my dad's friends for you. I'm a bartender, so I've heard some wild ones, but 2 of my favorites. This guy once said, "As hard as I have tried this week, I still haven't managed to cheat on my girlfriend." Then this other girl to the other girl said, "Do you think I should shower before I go over there? I reached in my pants earlier and it smelled like oysters." I was kind of disgusted about the second one and disappointed in the first guy. I was getting tutoring and the tutor got a call. And I'm not sure if it was her daughter or what, but the caller said something along the lines of, "You got your wish, I have cancer, and I'm not getting treatment." So I acted like I heard nothing, but was quite shocked in all honesty.